On this week's episode, two amazing new retro games, the Prisonella MD for the Sega Mega Drive and Mech 2 for the Commodore 64. In our hardware review, we test the EverGenesis cartridge for the Sega Mega Drive console and see if it's worth it. Our vault opens up to present to you the classic Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss, along with a Blade of Agony, a Wolfenstein 3D reimagining of epic proportions. Finally, in our history lesson, we look into the story of the two gorillas as Nintendo takes on a Hollywood studio and comes on top. So, let's get on with the show. We begin our new retro games reviews with Prisonella MD by Two Black Cats, a fast-paced action platformer for the Sega Mega Drive that will test your reflexes and your wits to the maximum. You have to collect as many coins as possible before reaching the exit unharmed. But the environments of the game are extremely hazardous, and death lurks in every corner, floor, roof, or wall of the game. It's a single-screen platformer that the environmental hazards are everywhere, and your character, a prisoner in some high-tech dystopian prison, has to master in order to escape. The animation is very good, with colorful and vibrant characters, and a wonderful cartoony palette that really suits the game. The music and sound effects are very good, and the controls are spot on. The gameplay is fast, but extremely hard, and reminds me of games like Meat Boy, a game that I was equally terrible at. Now we'll start our ranking by giving the graphics a solid 9. The controls a well-earned 9.5. The music and sound effects get also a 9. And the gameplay a 9.4, resulting in a total of 9.2. Fast, brutal and addictive, this game is a must-play for the Sega fans. Our second game comes by the name of Mech 2, and it's made by LC Games for the Commodore 64. A classic platformer, you're guiding Mike through a series of rooms on his cargo spaceship to activate all switches present in order to activate a beam that will eliminate the invading aliens. The environment offers teleporters, moving platforms, dangerous air vents, and of course, the aforementioned aliens that can kill you with a single touch. Mike can also collect crystals that increase his score and master ladders to move from room to room. The game is a single-screen platformer with an excellent animation, although the colors are a bit bland. The music and sound effects are spot on and are complemented by very good controls with a fair and precise collision detection that makes the game challenging but never frustrating. There is the option to gain an extra life at 5,000 points of score, and again after 50,000 each time, with the game also offering a practice mode to get you ready for the real challenge. On with our ranking, and the graphics get an 8, whilst the controls get a well-deserved 9.5. We give the music and sound effects a 8.7, with the gameplay receiving a 9.5 for a total of 8.9. An excellent and highly entertaining title for our beloved Commodore 64. This week in our hardware review, we inspect EverGenesis Mega Drive cartridge, a flash cartridge for the Mega Drive Genesis line of consoles. The cartridge, given that it is a cheaper product than the main line of EverDrive cartridges, is surprisingly sturdy. It is well made with high quality, thick plastic and well put together. It includes the classic SD card slot, a mini SD card slot to be precise, and a mega key function that needs to be configured though by you before it is useful. This is the third version of the cartridge, and it fits of course to the classic slot with no particular hassle. As so, the cartridge locks in place good, and you're good to go after that. We set up, turn on our Mega Drive, and let's go see it in action. Now this is the menu that greets us when we first boot up the EverGenesis. As always, it's good to categorize your games in some way in order to be able to find what you need easily. Let's choose a European version of a game now. You move through the list with the gamepad. You choose with a button. We are greeted with a very familiar screen afterwards, at least to those that have used or bought a cartridge of the similar line of products. It is a process of erasing any previous game flashed, reading the new one we choose, and finally flashing and booting the new one. When all is done, we are finally in the game of our choice. The game runs without any problems or bugs, as far as I checked. Now, if we need to run the same game at a later time, without flashing a new one, all we have to do is boot the cartridge and press the start button on the gamepad. There. Now, the EverGenesis is also a region-free product, meaning that it can run games from Japan or the US with no further tinkering. Let's try a Japanese version game now. Going through the same process, which is the Achilles heel of the cartridge for me. And it takes some time, depending on the size of the ROM. And really I consider it the greatest disadvantage of this cartridge, these flashing times. Now there, absolutely perfect and fully compatible. As you can see, once again the game runs hassle-free, no problems, no bugs. Now, an added bonus of the EverGenesis is the ability to run Sega Master System games, as the Mega Drive hardware was capable of doing so out of the box. Let's try it with Alex Kidd here. Of course, as the ROMs are smaller, the flashing process is faster here. And voila! You can use your Sega Master System cartridge backups with no problems, as easy as that. Well, needless to say that they also run without any problems. Well, so let's sum it up, shall we? That's pretty much the full Monty of the EverGenesis. It is a well-built and cheap product that offers a convenient way to run your backups. It is well made with an easy-to-use menu, and of course it's cheaper than its big rivals. Of course, the flashing process may become tedious after a while. You have to weigh on the pros and cons and decide for yourself. But as for us, I believe that it is good value for money and it's worth it.
Sense of deja vu.
This week, we begin our vault dwelling with our revered title for the MS-DOS, Origins Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss. Ultima Underworld is the game that some may argue actually included the first complete 3D FPS engine, a couple of years before the Wolfenstein 3D and Doom engines, as it has been in development long before them. Nevertheless, the philosophy of the gameplay is completely different in these three games, and of course, for us gamers, it's the fun they offer that matters the most. Ultima Underworld is a 3D first-person RPG, part of the famous Ultima series of games that really changed the landscape of RPG gaming. The story involves our character, that is, as always in this series, the revered Avatar, entrapped for a kidnapping and thrown into an underground, self-preserved prison named the Stygian Abyss, with no equipment or means to escape. The Abyss houses a variety of races, including humans that may assist the Avatar in his quest for justice and escape, or may attack him relentlessly. Of course, along the way we get to uncover the true nature of the Abyss and bring the actual perpetrator to justice. The game's engine was a thing to behold back in 1992, with fluid movement and texture environments that was way ahead than those presented in Wolfenstein 3D a couple of months later, and still more impressive sometimes even by Doom's a whole year later. There is an icon-based user interface that allows you to talk with characters, pick up objects, open doors, unlock or activate switches, observe carefully the environment, and of course fight the various enemies. Every single move is performed with a combination of mouse and keyboard, and although it takes a while to get used to them, it was really intuitive for its day, and it really doesn't take that much effort nowadays either. The music and sound effects are very atmospheric, and the game also came with separate speech pack to install if one wanted to, or granted that it was 1992, if he had a capable enough sound card. The gameplay is addictive, and for many people, the first out of the two Underworld games remained the best in the series. We will rank the graphics with a proper 9.5, as they were something amazing for their time. The controls get a 9, since it's still a fairly easy system to adjust to 33 years later. The music and sound effects get a 9.5, and the gameplay take a big 9.6, bringing the total to a 9.4. Simply legendary. For our new game today, we have something completely different. Wolfenstein 3D is a classic and legendary game that actually kickstarted the FPS frenzy that reached its height with the Doom series. But Wolfenstein is still remembered fondly by many, and people wish to see the series return to its roots of fast and simple gameplay, but with a touch of modernization. Ender Blade of Agony, a Doom engine standalone mode that transforms the Doom game through the GZ Doom engine into an amazing Wolfenstein game. There is a great story that resembles the original, divided into 3 action-packed episodes, all with their twists and turns into their stories. The graphics of the game received an extreme makeover, not just courtesy of the GZ Doom engine, but also of the amazing work done by the Realm 667 team that turned the mod into a classic World War II movie. The controls are modernized and they're a dream to use. The game includes an impressive amount of new and old guns to keep you taking down those Reich goons. And there is also a variety of new items, such as the mine detector, to give the gameplay a further spice up. The characters are really interesting and well written into the story, with a touch of old Hollywood war movies humor feeling. There are bonus objectives, hidden areas, and of course the classic treasure collection that really offers a fun subversion from the main game. The Blade of Agony is a work of love, and it really shows in every moment you get to enjoy it. We will award the graphics with a 9.7, the controls with a 9.5, while the music and sound effects get a solid 10. The gameplay gets a 9.6 to get to a total of 9.7. An amazing game that you really shouldn't miss. You all know, of course, the famous Donkey Kong, one of Nintendo's flagship titles and their first international hit long before Mario. But did you know that there was a big battle with a Hollywood studio for the rights to the famous gorilla? Back in 1981, and after Donkey Kong became a major hit in Japan, Nintendo started selling it abroad. And as the major contestant of Atari, Coleco started its rise to fame with the ColecoVision, and a deal between the two companies started to form. Nintendo already started selling the Game & Watch version of Donkey Kong that became a major success in Japan, and the ColecoVision version was going to be another smash hit, this time in the US. But Universal Studios took notice of the Kong name, and as the game started to make a sensation in the US, decided that Nintendo and Coleco was violating their intellectual property of King Kong rights. The movie was a classic hit, and a remake has been released in the theaters a few years back. Atari, the master of the market at the time, had already approached Universal before trying to get a license for the game from Nintendo, and came to an agreement to pay royalties to Universal. Nintendo, though, didn't back down. The case went to court after a terrible Hollywood executive-style meal between Coleco's Arnold Greenberg and Universal's Sid Sheinberg that ended with threats from Universal's president. As a result, Coleco signed a hasty royalties agreement with Universal, and the same thing happened to Tiger Electronics that wanted the rights for the Donkey Kong handheld version in the US. Hiroshi Yamauchi was outraged and ordered Arakawa and Lincoln to fight to the bitter end. But it was all a bluff. As it turned out, Universal did not actually hold the rights to the King Kong image. The initial rights were owned by the RKO production company, the original creator of King Kong movie. When Universal made the remake, they took RKO to court and earned a decision that placed King Kong and all related imagery in the public domain, releasing Universal from any financial reparations towards RKO. Based on this decision, though, the same was true for any company using the King Kong intellectual properties, including Nintendo, Coleco, Tiger, and Atari. Now the tables had turned, and Universal had to pay reparations to all the companies they threatened in an admission of bitter defeat. Coleco's Donkey Kong version was a major hit, and the closest version to the arcade at the time. Whilst Atari's, well, not so much.